Hello beautiful bookish family, welcome or welcome back to Coffee Over Apples. My name is Steph. This is the star ratings book tag in which you explain how you rate books based on a couple of questions. This tag was created by Jane over at the Bookaholic. Thank you, Jane, for putting together this tag. I think it's so interesting how differently people rate books and what the standards are. Half rating systems, no half rating systems. We have so much to talk about, and I am going to be tagging a few people at the end of this video. Question number 1 is, what do you base your ratings on? Okay, I try so hard to be an objective rater. When I review a book, I only change my rating about a half star or so based on subjective opinion, emotional opinion. I do my best to be as objective as possible. Now that is very hard, and I will say that is not always the case, but I try to give as thorough reasoning as possible when doing book reviews as to this is the anecdotal evidence as to why it deserves this rating. Now, I believe it is genuinely impossible, not at least for me, to have my rating affected based on my emotional experience or my connection to certain things or my expectations based on the book. I try to just take it scenario by scenario as I'm reading it and say, how was this paragraph written? How was this section structured? Is it doing what it set out to do, or is it lacking because of XYZ? But one of my biggest pet peeves, one of my biggest pet peeves is when people rate books that they haven't read them. Like, why are you rating a book that you've never read before? Even if one of my favorite authors came out with a new book, I would not rate that book because I haven't read it. How can I testify as to where that book stands on my scale in comparison to the other books that I've read if I haven't read it? I don't understand. If someone understands why people do this, please let me know in the comments, because it just irks my nerves. Question number 2, do you give half-star ratings? Yes, I do. I really wish that Goodreads would have a 1 to 10 star rating system. The 5 stars makes no sense, okay? So I do give half-star adjustments. Now, how does that work in a 5-star rating system? That half star is based on my emotional or like personal subjective opinion. So for example, if a book was so amazing that I'm floored, I love it, I can't stop thinking about it, then I will give it 5 stars. However, if there was something, just one aspect of it that just kept nagging at me no matter how much I love that book, I would give it a 4.5 stars, but I wouldn't put it in Goodreads as a 5 most of the time. Usually I would round it down to 4 or 5 depending on how much my emotional reaction to that is, and then put in the review that is actually a 4.5. Which would translate even better in a 1 to 10 scale rating system, because then a 4.5 would be equivalent to like an 8 or 9. And that would be easier to understand. Because 3 is not the middle of 5. 2.5 is the middle of 5. Can you do 2.5? No, you can't. So technically, every time we rate a book 3 stars and we say that it's middle of the road, it's not the middle of the road. It's actually just above the middle of the road, because we do not have a middle of the road option. I digress. Question number 3. How long does it take you to give a book a star rating after you finished it? Okay, I feel like this depends on the book. Generally, as a rule of thumb, I'm a very slow reader and I'm a very slow processor, which is why it takes me so long to get out my single book reviews. But I will usually give it like a day or two of mulling. It's one of my favorite words. mulling in the back of my mind to decide where that book really sits with me, because I feel like quite very often a scene will happen and sometimes I won't fully comprehend everything that's really happened in that scene, everything that's happened between the lines, the subtext, the context. So I'll just take some time to let it simmer in my head, talk it over with some friends, and then give my rating. If I'm pretty clear, I can usually give my rating the next day or so, but it does happen where it'll take me a couple weeks. Question number 4. Do you ever feel bad about giving a low star rating? No. Question number 5. No, I'm just kidding. I'll answer question number 4. Actually, the answer really is no. I don't feel bad at all. Because the point of being a reviewer is to be as genuine as possible, and you can't love everything. Can you say something positive about everything? I'm sure there's definitely a way to put a positive spin on anything. Hello, politicians do it all the time. But as a book reviewer, I think it's really important to be as genuine with your answers as possible. People are looking to your reviews in order to understand, 1, what your taste is in comparison to theirs, and 2, whether your reviews can be trusted, because if you're not willing to talk about the positives and the negatives, what's the point of being a reviewer? You might as well be a hype person. So yes, I do not mind giving a low rating to anything. I, as an artist, really enjoy it when people tell me that they didn't enjoy my work and then tell me why they didn't enjoy my work. As a creative person, if everyone is just telling you that you're really good all the time, that's not constructive. That's not helpful. How are you supposed to grow if nobody's telling you what's not working? It's like that one person who was told all their life that they were really good at that one thing, and then they finally go to like a professional setting to do that one thing and they don't know how to do it. Why? Because no one ever told them the truth, that they could have used a few extra classes. I'm a fan of tough love, you guys. But tough love is not the same as harassment. Like, totally not the same thing. It's totally different just saying, like, I didn't like this book because it wasn't for me, but I believe that I can still give a book some grace and, like, not as low a rating, even if the book wasn't 100% for me. Like, I'll probably end up giving a book that personally, subjectively, I would have given maybe 2 stars, give it a 3-star, and then say, hey, objectively, it was decent, just taste-wise, it was not for moi. Question number 5 is, do you sometimes change your star ratings? Occasionally, yes, I am guilty of changing my star ratings. Usually, more frequently, this will happen after a book club discussion. When it comes to books for book club discussions, most of the time I'm pretty solid on my answer, but then it does happen we're talking it over with friends. Someone will bring up something that I just didn't see, bring it up from another perspective, something that might have gone right over my head, and just be able to hash out things that I had questions for. That will affect what my ultimate rating of the book is. So if I rated it before the book club, then after the book club I have new feelings or thoughts, I will go back and change that rating. So not too long after I've just read it. However, it rarely does happen, but it does happen where it's a book that I might have read months ago. Maybe it's the end of the year and I look back at all the books I read and I rated something 5 stars. I might look back and say, you know what? What was 5 stars at that moment is not sitting with me as a 5-star right now. And that's okay. So I'll change it. It's totally fine. It's totally fine after getting new information or like developing your reading taste a little bit to look back at things and say, huh, that's not what I thought it was. It's okay. Question number 6 is, what makes a book 5 stars for you? It's a feeling. It is just, I cannot stop thinking about it. It touched on subjects that I wasn't expecting. Favorite tropes being used, or tropes that are being flipped on their head in a way that's totally unexpected. Characters, like, I am a plot-driven reader, but if you can get me to really fall in love with your characters, that is saying a lot. I personally don't need to love all the characters in a book. I don't need to love any character in a book to really enjoy it because I'm a plot-driven reader. But if you can get me to love all the characters, that's some good writing. But if it's a character-driven book, then I need to at least care about one of the characters for me to really care about what's happening. It's that, oh my gosh, I'm on the last chapter, I close the page and I'm staring at my ceiling in an existential crisis. That is 5-star goodness. Question number 7 is, what makes a 1-star book for you? True Blood. I'm just kidding.
No, not really.
It was bad. It was bad. It was unsalvageable. It was unredeemable. I like dark books. I like dark topics. I like dark things happening in books. But if we're throwing in certain things just for shock value and they're not used for the plot, or they're not used to be addressed, or they're not used for some really good reason, what are you doing? If the purpose of the book is not evident in the actions that were taken throughout the plot and by the characters, then to me that's a failure. To me that's like, you wasted your time, you wasted my time, you set me up with this expectation and you didn't come through. 1-star book is the plot sucked, the book didn't do what it said it was setting out to do, and I didn't like any of the characters. If you can't at least give me one of those 3 things, why are we here? Why do you exist? I don't necessarily think that just because a book is a 1-star book, that author is a 1-star author. I think every author and every creator has the probability and the possibility to redeem themselves and just work harder at what they're doing. Unless you keep making the same messed up mistakes over and over again that are just harming people, like, we need to see action. We need action behind these words. Number 8, how does your star rating system work? All right, so we're gonna go down the list from 5-star to 1-star. I'm gonna walk you through what each of these mean to me. A 5-star book, amazing. My heart flutters when I think about it. Whatever issues there were with the book don't bother me at all because all the positives overshadow the negatives. It's just, I can't stop talking about it. I can't stop thinking about it. I want more people to read it so we can gush about it together. 4.5 stars is almost perfect. Like, the story was amazing, or the plot was amazing, or the characters were amazing. Everything was great, except there's just one thing that I can't get over. So it's most likely going to be rated as a 4, but listed as a 4.5, unless it gives me that over the moon perfect feeling, then I will put it in as a 5. But 4.5 is close to perfect. 4-star is really good. I really enjoyed it, and you'll probably see me mention this book in lots of recommendation videos, but it wasn't perfect, and there's probably like 2 things that I just couldn't get over. But it was still really, really enjoyable and a really great time. There's probably elements about it that I think were subjectively great for me, and I think also would work for a lot of other readers. 3.5 is decent. I had a really good time. It was fun, but there's quite a few things that are holding it back for me. Again, one of those books that I think a lot of other people might enjoy, but I might suggest slightly less. It's not fully middle of the road, but it was fun. Now, 3-star and 2.5-star I kind of rate very similarly, and this is really mostly just a feeling kind of thing. These are middle of the road books because 2.5 stars is actually the middle of 5. But 3 is, I had a little bit more fun. 2.5 stars, it's just neutral, like it's probably forgettable. I would probably recommend this book in a very specific kind of recommendation video or recommend it to a very specific kind of person. If anything, these are the books that you will probably see me do an independent review on and then not really mention them again. Now, 2 stars is a disappointment. It's not bad to the point where you'll see me do a rant review. I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. Like, it missed the mark. The author did not accomplish what it seemed like they were setting out to do, or I just felt very blasé about it. So yeah, 2 stars you will almost never see me recommend again, unless it's to a very specific kind of reader who I think would enjoy that, but no. Or maybe it's just like an okay book, but it's just really not for me. It missed too many of my marks. Then 1 and 1.5 stars might as well be the same thing, because these books, there's a rant coming. I am angry, I am heated, how dare they? This is the kind of book that you will see me talk about non-stop, because I'm constantly talking about how it sucked, how nobody should read this book, and if you do read it and you do love it, good for you, but definitely not for me. Is it possible, I think, for other people to like 1-star books? Yes, because everyone's reading is totally different. There are books that other people love that I hate, and there are books that I hate that other people love. Does that make all these books really bad? Technically, to me, yes. These are the reviews that take me the longest to get to, because it takes me a long time to get my brain cells to be in line and coherent enough to give you a solid review that's not just me yelling from the rooftops that this book deserves to be burned. But that's just my opinion. Time to tag some friends. So there's a couple people who I'm really interested in hearing how they answer these questions. So I'm gonna tag some very specific people. I'm going to tag Monica over at Mooney Reads. I would love to hear Monica's rating system, as well as Lena from Sufficiently Advanced Lena. Rachel from Let Me in the Library, I would love to hear the breakdown of like what makes a 5-star book for you. Let's also tag Preet from the Bookish Nook. And Katrina Brown. I also would like to know what makes a really good book for you. If you're more inclined to give 5-star reviews, if you're more inclined to give 1-star reviews, please let me know. I think this is such an interesting tag, and thank you, Jane, for putting this tag together. I post videos every week. Catch you next time. Bye!
What's it making, Mr. Wonka? Mr. Wonka worked the factory.